As an Amazon seller, are you worried that with the influx of Chinese sellers that you have less of an advantage selling in your own marketplace? Well, we're going to be taking a look at one product that most certainly comes from a Chinese supplier that should give you a whole bunch of hope that you can outperform and outcompete even Chinese sellers that are by the numbers doing extremely well. We're going to be taking a look at this product, a baby lounger, in depth and how it does on Amazon in What's in the Box, brought to you by Zonguru. In this week's What's in the Box, we're going to be taking a look at the baby lounger category. This is for infants and newborns laying down and taking a nap. We're going to be taking a look at the category and how all of the products on page 1 sell. We're going to be taking a look at this one product, one of the top sellers in particular. We're going to be taking a look at the unboxing experience of the product itself, as well as the listing. And finally, we're going to be taking a look at what a $25,000 a month on Amazon product looks like and how you as a seller can absolutely improve upon this product and its listing as someone new in the space. All right, let's dive in. If you've seen one of these unboxing videos before, you probably know that where we like to start is just taking a look at the listings that appear on page 1. We want to see what the competition looks like. So as we scroll down, you'll notice a couple different things. Now, I see 3 distinct styles of baby lounger, which is the keyword that we're using and is probably the main buyer keyword for this type of product. We see these boat-shaped objects, more of kind of like a lazy chair or a beanbag style. And then we see sort of a bassinet style and a hybrid. So basically 4 main types. Now, this is the product that we purchased and the one that we're going to be spending the most time on in this video. And you should be asking yourself, is there a way to really stand out from the competition outside of those 4 main categories? What I will say is after looking at the products on page 1, a lot of sellers are either differentiating with fabric or with color or just in the general shape. I think if you can actually answer that question of how you can stand out outside of those main areas, you're going to have a huge leg up on the competition here. But the next thing that we like to do once we've taken a look at what the products look like and if there is room for differentiation, which there is, we take a look at the numbers. Now what we're going to do here is pull up the Zonguru Chrome extension and niche rater. And this is going to tell us 4 main things. How much demand is there for this product? How competitive is it? How much is it going to cost to enter the space? And finally, what's the revenue potential? How much money are we going to be able to make or invest back into our business with a product like this one? So as you can see here, we have a niche score of about 56%. Now this is the way that we gauge those 4 key metrics, and 56% is towards the lower end of what we're typically looking for. But that's okay. There's still definitely opportunity in this category, especially when you see what the seller's products themselves actually look like. Some of the more important numbers that I like to look at are obviously search volume and monthly revenue. Now these go into the actual buyer demand of the product as well as the monthly sales. So it's getting almost this one keyword, baby lounger, is driving almost 14,000 monthly searches. That's a good number, and that's why the buyer demand is a little bit higher. The average seller also makes $54,000. That's exceptional. Imagine being in a place where your single product is making $54,000 a month on Amazon. It's pretty cool. And then also, we like to take a look at the average price because this plays into how much money we're going to need to invest in the business and the launch budget. And the launch budget is taking into account how much is it going to cost to stay in stock for at least 3 months on Amazon given the average price. Now this is important because this gives you enough time to really understand if you need to reorder and how quickly you need to reorder. Because I'm sure, as you probably know, running out of stock on Amazon is a big no-no. You just don't want to do it. It hurts your rank and Amazon doesn't see you as a serious seller. So this is a really good way to understand what you can expect to invest in the beginning so you don't run out. Now, one of the things that I also like to look at and is a really key metric in the actual competition opportunity and jumping into the space as a new seller and understanding if it's wise or not is the average number of reviews. Now, we see the average seller has over 500 reviews. When I see a number like this, I like to sort by reviews and see, are there sellers at the top that are really driving this number up? Or on average, do sellers have around that mark? Now, you can see here that the top seller, it's a big brand, it's Fisher-Price, and it actually doesn't even totally fit with this product, has over 5,000 reviews and almost 5,000 reviews on the second product. And then the reviews begin to drop off. Now, there's still some pretty high numbers. We see $1,400, $900, and then it begins to drop. Now, what I like to tell people is you want to see the majority of the sellers with less than 100 reviews or around the 100 review mark, because you as a new seller can absolutely compete with the sellers that are around the 100 review mark and below. Those are the ones that you want to focus on as a new seller, outperforming. Anybody over the 500 review mark, they have the social proof, they probably have a budget, which is allowing them to drive paid traffic to their listings. So don't focus too much on them. This is what you want to see. All of these sellers down at the bottom that are either brand new or are underperforming. Now, one other thing that I want to point out is this item over here, which is the listing score. The listing score is going to tell us how well optimized the listings are. And there's a lot of factors that play into this, but it takes a look at, you know, the quality of the photos and the number of photos that they have in their listing, whether or not they have EBC or videos, they have paid traffic, and then finally, if they're optimized for the keyword that we've run in this search. These are sellers that basically are just listing a product and doing almost the minimal amount of work possible once they've actually listed their product. And it looks like there's quite a few sellers that are doing exactly that, a lot of minimal work. We're gonna take a look at this product in particular, which is one of the sellers that's doing quite well in the category, just to show you the quality and caliber of seller in this category. Now, this is not one size fits all across the category, but should really make you feel optimistic as a seller that's going above and beyond, trying to learn strategies to really set yourself apart from the competition, and just how easy that can be when you're competing against sellers like this. Let's take a look. So we talk all the time about product categories that have what's called a higher gas factor. Now this just simply stands for give a shit. We want to see and invest in categories that consumers truly care about, that they feel invested in the process of buying, that they are going to use the product often and is going to make an impact in their lives. Now, I can't think of another category that has a higher gas factor than the baby category. As you can imagine, there's nothing that a mom cares about more than their newborn babies. And you have a lot to work with. You can make the product superior. You can make it a more luxury item, because moms are going to be willing to spend more on their newborn. And you want to create an actual true experience around buying the product. This seller doesn't really capitalize on that at all. This is exactly how we received the product. There's no real branding. There's no fun experience around the unboxing. We're basically gonna open this up and what we see is what we've got. I also wanna point out that the only branding and where they tell their story is on this really bad insert. This is one of the worst inserts I think I've ever seen, and I've looked at a lot of products on Amazon, and it's actually pretty funny. And I think it really speaks to, you know, I don't know exactly where this product was sourced from or who the seller is, but I have to imagine that this is a bit of the stereotype that you kind of think of when you think of a seller that is just listing products on Amazon without really paying attention to the key ideas around differentiation, building a brand, and an experience around the product. This insert is riddled with misspellings, it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't provide any value on top of the product itself. If I was a mother and I received this product, I would kind of automatically feel a little bit underwhelmed by this product before I've even opened it, which is not what you want to do when creating an actual experience around your product on Amazon. Okay, so we've now opened the product up. The first thing that I notice is it does feel like it's made of some pretty high quality material. The stitching around the cloth looks pretty clean, and there's some actual high quality memory foam in the leg support down here. However, I will say that the material on the back is quite itchy, and also I notice here some thread already coming off before we've even gotten to really experiment with the product. They do have this one distinctive feature, which is this kind of arm strap that'll keep the baby secure. And then also it's supposed to be a head shaping pillow, so that's why there's this little insert in the back. I think that they could have played this up a little bit more and improved the design around this product and really added some more elements to make it feel like an animal or like a stuffed animal, which the baby is gonna really like, other than just, you know, a couple of felt add-ons. Okay, now the fun part. Let's take a look at this insert here. So one of my favorite misspellings on here, as it points out the ears on the product, is keep baby's head nicely round, adorable beer ears design. That is so poorly worded, it's shocking. And again, just really at the very beginning makes the brand and the product itself feel less serious. I'm not entirely sure what the seller was trying to do with this insert. And you have an opportunity to really tell your brand story, call out the benefits of your product, ask for feedback, and so much more in the insert. Provide warranties. There's a ton that you can do. This is not the way to do an insert. And also, this is basically the only branding on this product at all. So already you can see that a seller that does extremely well on Amazon can put in very, very minimal effort, but that's not what you're gonna do as a seller, I'm sure. You're gonna go above and beyond and take this information and make it 10 times better. If you're familiar with the What's in the Box videos, then you know that unboxing a product is not just looking at the product itself and the packaging, it's unboxing the listing itself. So let's take a look at what this seller does to create an experience around the product in the listing, and then also if they're optimized for the right keywords. Based on what we've seen so far, I have low hopes for this product. Let's take a look. So we're inside the listing, and you can see with the product photos, really all the seller is doing is just showing off the product itself. You should really consider lifestyle photos with your photography inside of your listing. It doesn't need to be in the hero image, but you can see here that these are lifeless photos because there's no infant baby, there's no mother, it's just the product itself. These feel like the product photos that a supplier would send you if you were a seller looking to sell this type of product. There's no real character to these images. So already you can see that there's room for improvement here. Although they are clean photos and they're professional, they should absolutely be showing the product actually being used. Also, one thing that I want to point out that I notice is these tags are just taking up way too much space in this photo, and there's so many and there's such big tags that they should probably have gotten rid of those in these images. I am surprised that they take full advantage of the bullets and the description, the product description. We'll see how well optimized they are in a second, but I would have expected that this seller probably did almost nothing when it came to listing copy. And then it does look like they have enhanced brand content, but again, they don't have a brand to show off. So all they're doing is just showing more info about the product. Again, this is a high gas factor product. You have so much that you could do really well to convince a mother with a newborn to buy this product and that they need the product. This seller simply doesn't do that. Here's a good counter example of a seller that does their branding on their listing quite well. Again, they show off the product and they're very clean images. They show the different inserts and benefits. I like this photo because they really get close and personal with the product, and they show off the attention to design and detail in the product. They don't show any photos of the product being used in the main photos, but they do have a nice overlay image there. And then the real branding and experience comes once you get down into the enhanced brand content, where you actually see, this feels like a brand that is actually tried and tested by mothers, really pretty photos. The product is actually in a setting where the mom might be able to, relate to the image. And then you actually see mother and child in the images, which is really important. And then also I like this image here, this product is going to keep your baby safe, which is why you'd want to buy this product in the first place. So making that explicit is really good by this seller. Okay, so let's go back to the listing that we purchased and just take a quick look at their copy. Now, what we're going to be using here is one of our tools called Keywords on Fire. What this tool is going to do is it's going to show you all of the relevant keywords that sellers that sell that type of product have used to drive sales. So specifically what we're gonna do is we're gonna run a session for a newborn lounger, and it's gonna pull up the 25 top sellers for that product, and it's gonna tell us which keywords were typed in by a consumer that led to a sale for those products. And then it's gonna pull in all sorts of relevant, good to know information about those keywords. Now, this tool is incredibly important because it is going to help you with your search engine optimization, the amount of times you show up in Amazon search results, and also the number of times that you show up in Amazon search results as a relevant product. So what you're gonna wanna do with this information is, if you're looking to sell a product or you're on your 10th or 100th product, run some sessions with Keywords on Fire to better understand what other sellers have driven sales on, so that you can tweak your listing copy appropriately and drive more traffic and convert more sales. So what we're looking at here is again, the infant lounger. We have a total of 25 of the top competitors in this category we've run the session on. We have a list of almost 400 keywords, generating over $11 million and over 600,000 monthly searches. So we have a lot to work with here. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull all the keywords and see how this seller is optimized for all of them. Now, if this is your first time seeing this tool, there's a lot of nuts and bolts to it, a lot of strategy that can be involved to drive new traffic to new listings using the halo effect, filters. There's so much that you can use this tool for. So I really recommend just go ahead and look at the tutorial video because we really dive into the nitty-gritty of this tool. But what we're gonna do is we're just going to use this information inside of Listing Optimizer to compare the listing copy against what we have. So I'm gonna click on this Add to Listing Optimizer button. It's gonna shoot all of our keywords over to the Listing Optimizer tool, and you can see them here. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna pull in the listing copy direct from Amazon for the product that we purchased. So I already have the ASIN pasted, and you can see here, I have the pull backend keywords option selected. Now, this is really important because this is actually going to the backend keywords for listings, which until very recently you weren't able to see at all, is now available to Zonguru users. So we're gonna be able to get that last little extra bit of information about keywords that sellers find have been good for driving additional traffic. Now, these are usually misspellings or colloquial terms, or maybe terms that they're testing to see if they can get extra traffic to their listing for. And let's see if this seller even takes advantage of them at all. It looks like they do. So having used this tool quite a bit and analyzed quite a few different listings, I am actually quite surprised, given the quality of the product, that they actually do take pretty much full advantage of the various spaces where they can add copy to their listing. I will say though that they don't have the full number of characters that they could be using, and this is just a missed opportunity. If you're not maximizing the number of characters that you're using in the bullets and description, title, and backend keywords, then you're just missing out on words that you could be inserting into your listing so that you show up more in search results. So you can see here, for example, the description only has 540 characters out of 2,000. The bullets, for example, in bullet 2 has 83 characters out of 500. Just simply a missed opportunity there. You can see here some of the search terms, the backend search terms that they feel is gonna drive a little bit of extra relevant traffic. And I like actually what they've done here. They've added Mother's Day, Newborn Day, Christmas, Children's Day, and gifts. Now, these are really good keywords to use for an obvious reason. You might not want to insert those into your front-end listing copy. For example, Christmas has already passed. You might not want to use Christmas in your front-end listing copy because then it makes it feel outdated. If you put it in the back end though, your customers aren't going to see that, but you're still driving traffic for that keyword. So intelligent use of the back end keywords there. And then also they do take almost full advantage of the search terms character limit. So what I want to do now is click done editing and just see where in the listing copy this seller optimizes for keywords. And you can see here that we compare what this listing copy has in their listing compared to our list pulled from Keywords on Fire. And this seller is optimized for less than 1/10 of the total potential in our keyword list. Now, it's probably impossible to optimize for 100% of the total search volume or revenue generated, but it is interesting to know that this seller is optimized for such a small percentage of the total potential. And you can see here exactly why. For example, baby lounger was deemed to be one of the most important keywords because it generates the most potential revenue and search volume. They only have it broad matched in their title. They could be driving so much more traffic if they exact matched in their title, or if they broad matched in their descriptions and their bullets, but they don't do that at all. Boppy, I guess, is a search term that people use for this product. It doesn't appear once in their listing copy. And you can see here what you typically want when you're using Listing Optimizer is you want to see this whole section lit up. You want to see a bunch of these where the keyword shows up either broad or exact in multiple places. This really gives you a little bit of extra juice in the search results on Amazon. This seller just simply is getting by with a very basic copy. So lots of room for improvement, and should really inspire you as an Amazon seller that's taken the time to watch a video like this and learn about strategy, that you can compete with a seller that has almost 300 reviews right off the bat with some intelligent keyword research. So interesting to know, and kind of as expected with the quality of product that we saw, and the quality of the listing photos, that the copy wouldn't really be up to snuff either. All right, so the final thing that we're gonna look at now is just the year-round sales for these products. So we're gonna be using the Sales Spy tool. Now, this allows us to historically track the sales over time for individual products, rather than the Chrome extension, which takes a look at a whole category on the day that the search is run. So with Sales Spy, you can see some interesting information around this product. Now, I don't expect this to be a particularly seasonal item. People probably can buy this all year round, but maybe you might see that towards Christmas time or perhaps around Mother's Day, this product is going to spike in sales. I just pulled the 3 most interesting products that I saw on page 1, and you can see relatively consistent results. Now, what I will point out is that a product that we're looking at has only been sold on Amazon for a handful of months. And then also, it seems like this is kind of becoming a more trendy product, because it does appear that some of the other top sellers are pretty new as well. But what you can see here is relatively consistent sales year round. Now, why is this important? Well, if you're getting into a product category that's seasonal, you need to make sure that you're stock prepped for that season. You don't want to over prepare and invest too much money in your stock so that you can't expand your product line or invest in other products or invest in good branding, but you also obviously don't want to under prepare so you don't run out of stock. We covered a ton of material in this unboxing video. We took a look at the niche itself to understand if there is profitability and potential in it, and also how you could potentially stand out from the competition through differentiation. We looked at the seasonality of some of the products in this category and learned that this was a product that sells great year round. And then finally, we really unboxed the product to see what the experience was like. We looked at the photos, the listing copy, and then we unboxed the product and the experience of owning and buying a product like this, and really tried to view that through the lens of the potential consumer. We found that the product that we deep dove into is doing a lot of things really poorly, and it should make you feel optimistic as a new seller that's taking the time to learn strategies around being a better seller, that you can do a really great job at outperforming sellers that have already laid the groundwork and have gathered reviews. I want to thank you guys for joining us for another episode of What's in the Box, brought to you by Zonguru. If you love content like this, you want to learn more, whether you're a new seller or somebody that's a pro, make sure to check out our resource center. It's devoted to curated content specifically for you, no matter what stage of the business cycle you're in. Also, take a look here at some of our other unboxing videos if you want to see some other product opportunities and really deep dive into what sellers do well and not so well. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.